So welcome. Today we're going to talk about several different things all related to engineering, so specific to what UBC Engineering has to offer you, the process to become a professional engineer, and kind of just what engineering is in general. So I want to start off by asking all of you a question of what do you think is an engineer? What makes an engineer for you? So if you can use the tab in the bottom right-hand corner, click on the chat bubble, kind of what do you think an engineer either does? What do you think maybe some of the innovations engineers have created? What do you think some of the inventions that engineers have made? Anything like that. I just want to get a sense of what you already know about engineering. So if you can use the chat, again, you can access that with the purple tab in the bottom right-hand corner and then click on the chat bubble. Let me know what you think an engineer is or kind of some of the things that an engineer has created or innovated. Great, so some suggestions are an engineer is a person that takes scientific concepts or laws and makes technology using those ideas. They focus on problem solving. An engineer is creative and innovative problem solver. Solve problems using hardware and software. Something that engineers have created are an MRI. Awesome, those are all great answers. Helping people, definitely. Great, thank you so much for sharing those answers. So engineers really take the science that you learn, that you might be learning right now in high school. So they take what they know from science, they apply that knowledge to solve problems in the world. A lot of that has to do with helping people, making our lives better, and really improving our lives so that every day is going to be better than the last. So I often do talk to a lot of students who think that engineers just build things, and there definitely are civil engineers who do build things as part of their job. But that's not all that engineers do. They do a lot more than that. Some of the research happening at UBC right now includes earthquake research and designing better, safer buildings, so that would be related to building things. However, there's also things like power electronics and renewable energy, including ways of better utilizing battery power and creating things like wireless charging for electric vehicles through high-powered magnetics. So if you have a wireless charger for your phone, imagine having the same sort of thing where you just drive your car on top of it and it automatically charges your car. We do a lot of research in human robotics interface, things like biomedical engineering, does research in areas like regenerative medicine, biomechanics and injury prevention, and immune engineering. We also have a lot of research that goes into clean water, so especially looking at small remote towns for Indigenous people as well. There's one creation of a company that works with UBC called Réseau WaterNet, and they've actually been able to provide clean water to people who have been under boil water advisories for many, many years, which is really interesting. Could you imagine having to boil water every time you need to wash your hands right now? That would be really difficult to do. And so a lot of places in Canada, in BC, actually are under boil water advisories because they don't have clean drinking water. And so one thing that engineers have done is actually gone and created ways to provide these people with safe, clean drinking water. All right. So another thing that engineers do a lot of is they work as part of a team. So a lot of the reasons that they do work as part of a team is to help people. Often in working to help people, they will work very closely with those people they're trying to help. But engineers also work on a team because multiple perspectives are really important to being an engineer. If you are going to design or create something that is going to help everyone, you need to have all those perspectives to be able to design for them. So working on a team is only going to make people better, and so UBC Engineering really strives to ensure that we have a diverse student body so that we are able to provide the best teams going forward and provide you with the experience of working on a team right from first year. So a team is only as good as its members, and having only one perspective will not allow those creations, inventions, or innovations to benefit our entire population, which is why it's really important to work as part of a team. One of the things that we offer at UBC Engineering that really lets you explore that even further is our design team. So we have over 30 design teams, the most of any school in Canada, and it's a really exciting opportunity to get involved and get some hands-on work experience outside of the classroom. So you can see an example of many of the teams that we have up here. They're kind of sectioned off into different types of teams. So there's chemical and biomedical teams, there's automotive teams, all sorts of different teams. If you go to our team's website, so if you search UBC Engineering Design Teams, you will be able to see all of these teams, and you can click on their links to check out their either Facebook page, their Instagram, their website. Every team is a little bit different, but they have a lot of really cool information on there of what they're doing and what they're working on. A lot of these teams will also compete against other universities from around the world, and UBC teams tend to do quite well. Now at UBC, at the Vancouver campus, we have 14 different engineering programs that you can choose from. You'll start in a foundational first year, and then you'll actually choose your engineering specialization at the end of first year. And so you can see there's lots of different options on the Vancouver campus, some that you might have never even heard of before. So biomedical engineering is an example of the perfect way to combine biology, medicine, and engineering. Engineering physics, for example, combines mechanical and electrical engineering with a focus on entrepreneurship. We also have environmental, chemical and biological engineering, which all have a focus on clean water, clean energy, and sustainability. So the possibilities are really endless. But you can also consider coming to the Okanagan campus. So we actually have 4 different engineering programs at the Okanagan campus, which is located in Kelowna. There's one question that came in, are there no aerospace engineering at the Vancouver campus? So at our Vancouver campus, there is not a specific aerospace engineering program. However, there are some courses in mechanical engineering that are related to aerospace. We do have a lot of aerospace teams as part of our design teams, and a lot of those students will come from many different areas. So depending on what area you're interested in, potentially materials engineering, potentially mechanical engineering, computer or electrical engineering, there's lots of different options that are very related to aerospace engineering. There's another question about after first year, are students able to specialize in whatever they choose? So students will go through a second year placement process. What that means is that you will be ranking all of the programs that you're interested in. So if you're at the Vancouver campus, you'll likely rank the Vancouver programs. The Okanagan is a little bit different. So at the Okanagan campus, there are no caps on any of the programs. At the Vancouver campus, there are a limited number of seats in those programs. What you'll do is select your top programs, and then you'll be evaluated by those programs to see if you meet their criteria to join that program. A lot of it is going to be based on your first year average, and you're taught a lot about that in your first year courses, which are called AppSci 100 and AppSci 101, which will teach you all about the placement process and how that works and the grades required and everything like that. Great question so far. So that's the programs that we offer at UBC, but I also want to talk a little bit about kind of the process to becoming a professional engineer, because I think that's where a lot of students often have questions, or at least from my experience. So what that actually looks like is from high school. If you're in high school right now, the route that you need to take is what we're going to go through right now. Basically, you need to start out by making sure that you take the right courses, and we'll go through those course requirements in a second. And then the other thing I would encourage you to do is to explore engineering and STEM programs. So we have Gearing Up Outreach at UBC. They have great opportunities available. There might be programs at your school. There might be events happening in the community. There's tons of events happening online this year even, where you can explore different STEM opportunities available to you so that you can really know if engineering is something that you're interested in. If you've taken the right courses and you choose to come into engineering, there's a couple of different entry routes that you can consider. We have direct entry to UBC Engineering, which means coming straight from high school into our first year program. That you can go to either the Vancouver or the Okanagan campus, like I mentioned. We also have some university transfer routes. So we have 9 different institutions that you can do the engineering transfer program from, where you'll start there and take the whole first-year program at another institution. So some local to Vancouver include Langara, there's Douglas College, there's Capilano, Kwantlen, lots of different opportunities of those institutions where you can start the program there. The current GPA required is a 3.1, so if you take all of the courses in that program and maintain a 3.1 GPA in your first year, then you will be eligible for our second year program at UBC and enter one of those specializations as well. There's also the opportunity, if you start in another university program, you will need to make sure that you are taking transferable courses. Otherwise, you may only be able to transfer into year 1 and not into year 2. So there are a few considerations to make with that. If you're an Indigenous student, there's another couple options available to you. So there's the Aboriginal admission policy, and there's also the Aboriginal transfer partnership with Langara, which is similar to the engineering transfer program, but has a few additional benefits for our Indigenous students. So once you get into university and you're in your first year at UBC Vancouver, you'll take the foundational first year. At the Okanagan, it's actually foundational 1.5 years that you take. And then at the end of that first term of second year is when you'll start to specialize in your program. Again, at the Okanagan campus, there are no caps on the program, so you would be able to choose whatever program you are most interested in. And then if you are transferring in, as I mentioned, you can take the equivalent courses to UBC Engineering's first year and then transfer into the second year for that, which is when you'll begin your engineering specialization, like mentioned. Now, that degree will take you about 4 or 5 years to complete, so it takes 4 years normally. If you choose to do something like co-op, which is paid work experience, that'll add a year to your degree, but co-op gives you 20 months of paid work experience as part of your degree. So it gives you some really good advantage. You get paid really well. You get to learn about what it's like to work as an engineer, and you get to also explore different fields that you might be interested in. So even within one specialization of engineering, there's still lots of different areas that you can work in as part of those specializations. So lets you explore what area you might want to go into once you graduate. So it'll take you 4 or 5 years depending on that co-op piece. There's also some additional pieces, like if you choose to do a minor or a dual degree, that may extend your degree by a little bit as well. Now, once you graduate, you can start working right away. Some students will plan to go on to do something like a master's or a PhD, or some students might begin another professional degree, like go into medicine or law school or something along those lines. Now, once you graduate, if you start working right away, you're what's called an engineer in training. And so you're not quite a professional engineer just yet. But once you've completed 4 years of work experience and passed the ethics exam that's required, then that's when you will become designated as a professional engineer. So there's not necessarily any schooling required after that first undergraduate degree, but there is work experience required before you can become a professional engineer. So that's kind of the pathway to take you through what you might be looking towards in the future. All right, so I mentioned a little bit about admission already. So for those students joining us this evening that are in high school and wondering what those admission requirements are, we will go through that for you. So the specific admission requirements is a few different things that you'll need to consider. We have the English language admission standard. That is for students who essentially you need to have completed 4 years of study in Canada, or there's a few other ways to meet that as well. If you're joining us from Canada, you spent your whole time in Canada, you don't really need to worry about that one. If you studied somewhere else internationally, then that is a requirement that you will want to check out to make sure that you're meeting that. And there's about 9 different ways to meet that standard, so lots of opportunities. There's also the general degree requirements. So for that, you will need to graduate from high school. We recommend taking at least 6 courses at the grade 12 level, and you do require a minimum 70% in grade 11 or grade 12 English. Now, those 2 first requirements are required for kind of any program at UBC, and the specific required courses for engineering are what's listed on the screen. So at the grade 11 level, we'll require English, a language at the grade 11 level, and pre-calculus 11. For grade 12 courses, we're looking for English 12, pre-calculus 12, and chemistry 12, and physics 12. Now, there's a couple caveats on this screen. So the Vancouver campus is the only one that requires the language at the grade 11 level. If you're looking at the Okanagan campus, that is not a requirement. The chemistry and physics are recommended to have both of those, but you can be admitted with only one of those. English and Pre-Calculus 12 are for sure required, but chemistry and physics, one or the other, you can still be admissible on, but we recommend having both of them completed. Now, those are the BC requirements. If you're joining us not from BC, on the website yu.ubc.ca, you can find out the requirements that apply to you. They'll essentially be the kind of equivalents of these courses listed in your province or from your country. The other thing that UBC will look at is the breadth, rigor, and relevancy in your coursework. So breadth means what other courses are you taking that are outside of these specific required courses. Rigor will look at things, are you taking AP, are you taking IB, are you taking honors courses? And relevancy will be what other courses are you taking related to engineering. Now, when we assess your application, we're looking at a few different things. So we're looking at the overall academic average. That's going to be all of your grade 11 and grade 12 academic courses that you've completed. We're looking at the core academic average as well, and those are going to be the grade 11 and grade 12 courses in subject areas like language arts, math and computation, and sciences. So that's how we're going to assess your academic score as part of your admissions profile. We're also going to look at your personal profile, and your personal profile is where you get to tell us what you've done outside of the classroom. So what's important to you, be reflective, be introspective about what you've done or what you've been involved with outside of the classroom. This is really where you can set yourself apart and let us know kind of what you've done or what has impacted you in your life that has changed your experience. So those are kind of the main parts that are required to be assessed for your application. Now, there was a question about what is the average, and that will depend on where you're coming from. That will depend on your courses and all sorts of different things. And because we're looking at an overall academic average and a core average and the personal profile, those are all pieces that come together in your application assessment. So it's not necessarily looking just at your average. It is looking at a combination of all of those things. So it's hard to give a specific percentage because you could have lower grades but an exceptional personal profile and still be admitted. You can have really high grades and not a great personal profile and potentially not be admitted. So it's really hard to give an exact answer to that. There's a couple other questions about admissions, so I will jump to those. So a language at the grade 11 level is required for the Vancouver campus. There is no way around that if you are coming directly into high school or into first year of UBC Engineering from high school, sorry. If you have come into the BC school system, again, this is BC requirements. So if you check the requirements for your province, they may be different. If you are in BC and you came into BC after grade 9, then you can also get a language waiver. That's all on the admission website. So again, at the bottom here of the screen, what you can see is the link that you'll want to go to, and that will tell you what your requirements are. And if you came into the BC school system after grade 9, then you can get a waiver for that requirement. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, so hopefully that answers a lot of your questions about admissions. If you do have some more questions, then definitely feel free to put that in the chat. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is some of the opportunity available to you as a student at UBC Engineering. So UBC Engineering allows students to get hands-on design experience right from the start. You'll get project-based team learning in almost every year of study in many, many classes. So starting right from first year, you'll be working with a team to design various projects, and that'll continue throughout your degree as well. So you get a lot of that experience because a lot of working as an engineer, as I mentioned, is doing that teamwork so that we can make sure that you have those great perspectives as part of your team moving forward. All of that kind of design and project-based team experience will lead into the capstone project, which will happen in one of your last years of university, usually your 4th year. That's where you get to work with industry experts to actually design or innovate something that is relevant to the field that you will be going into. And then it's showcased at the end of the year of what kind of great things you did. So there's tons of cool projects that always come out at the end of the year, and they're always so exciting to see. Now, there's also a lot of opportunity for work and international experience. I mentioned a little bit about the co-op program already, and for co-op, you won't be able to apply into it until your 2nd year of university. So you still have a lot of time to decide if that is something that you want to do. About half of our students choose to take co-op, but that is something that is optional. So again, a co-op is our paid work experience program. It will add a year to your degree, but it gives you about 20 months of work experience that is paid throughout your degree, essentially. Go Global and coordinating the international experience are also amazing opportunities where you can go and study abroad or do research abroad at other institutions around the world. The coordinated international experience is really unique to UBC Engineering because you actually get to go study at other engineering institutions from around the world, and those agreements have already been made and laid out, so you know exactly what courses you can take, how that'll apply to your degree, and all those sorts of pieces. So it's a really unique program where it's kind of all laid out for you. Go Global has tons and tons of schools available that you can kind of go through, but it's a little bit more of looking through what will work for you and what courses you can take and things like that. So those are just some of the opportunities. You can also, through co-op, work abroad. So if that's something you're interested in, then that's an opportunity that might be available to you in the future. The last thing I want to mention, we talked a little bit about this already, but are teams and clubs at UBC Engineering. So all of our students tend to get quite involved, especially in engineering itself. We have those engineering student design teams. As I mentioned, we have over 30 of them this year. And they're continuing to work even though courses are online and everyone is working virtually at UBC. Students are still connecting virtually for these teams and still getting involved. And a lot of our teams even competed virtually this summer and did quite well. So it's pretty exciting to see. We also have a lot of UBC engineering clubs that are specific. So there's the Engineering Undergraduate Society. There's also clubs related to things like Women in Engineering. There's Engineers Without Borders. So there's lots of different clubs that you can get involved in that are related to engineering as part of your degree. And then we also have the UBC AMS Club. So AMS stands for Alma Mater Society, and that's kind of the student government at UBC. There's over 350 clubs that are part of that. So basically anything that you're interested in, you can probably get involved in at UBC. So lots of ways to get involved and to have fun while you're studying with us. Now, one of the last few things I want to mention is scholarships. So for those of you that are in grade 12, if you applied by December 1st, then you will be automatically considered for our merit-based scholarships. There's something like the Presidential Scholars Award for Canadian students that is UBC-wide, and we also have some specific ones to engineering as well. So examples would be the Engineering Scholarship for Innovation, the Women in Engineering Award, and things like that. There is also a financial need-based scholarship called the Centennial Scholar Entrance Award. Now that deadline has been extended this year, so if you're in grade 12 and you already applied by December 1st, you can still apply for the Centennial Scholars Entrance Award up until December 15th. And there's been additional money set aside, so if you are a Black Canadian student, indicate that in your award application, and there's specific money that has been set aside for those students this year, so that's exciting. There's also tons of scholarships available online too and other places. So if you are looking for external scholarships, search for things like technology, search for things like STEM. If you are a girl, search for things like women in engineering, women in technology, women in STEM. There's lots of different opportunities for external scholarships that will be available to you, but you need to search them. So places like Scholarships Canada is a really good place to get started. or looking at organizations. So I think even Engineering Geoscientists of BC will have awards for high school students. Tech BC tends to have awards. So there's lots of opportunities for students coming into engineering or continuing in engineering as a student. So for those that are already in post-secondary, there are additional awards available to you as you progress throughout your degree. So I want you to think for a second about if you would make a great engineer. So imagine a world without engineers. There would be no buildings, no bridges, no cell phones, no life-saving devices, no drugs to heal you, no transportation. Life is pretty good in this moment, but engineers work every day to make our lives better than what they are right now. Engineers improve our environment, our technology, and our medicine. They build solutions to solve problems and make the world a better place. So if you want to work on a team to solve problems, engineering might be a really great fit for you. So thank you so much for joining my presentation this evening. Hopefully that helped give you lots of information about UBC engineering, the pathway to becoming a professional engineer, and those admission requirements that we're looking for. But we do have a few minutes. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask those in the chat. Again, for anyone that just recently joined us, if you click on the purple tab in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and the chat bubble, you can then ask those questions. And if there were any questions asked throughout the presentation that I didn't get a chance to answer yet, please repost those so I can make sure that I answer them now. If you do have to go already, if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me an email. My email is erin.fair@ubc.ca, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If you're looking for more information about the student experience as well, we do have our YouTube channel called Engineering Stories that has tons of videos about all sorts of different things about student life and especially about being an engineering student. So you can check that out. There's even some videos this year about what it's been like to study online and learn online and all those sorts of things. So if you want to check that out, that's a great resource for you.